Welcome to the Tenant Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson, here with my friend and partner, known affectionately as Grandpa, the
That's
one
right.
and only Wes Brown.
Hey, everybody. This is Grandpa speaking. Hey, Todd. How you doing, my friend?
I love your Grandpa voice, by the way.
Thanks. I work on it a lot. For reference, my daughter just gave birth to my fourth grandchild. She has 3 and my son has 1. So we're welcoming Serafina into the world this week. And I'm a proud grandfather. So looking forward to seeing her in a couple weeks. So I'll be excited.
That's a fabulous name. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing.
So just my daughter's name is, my daughter's being like, please don't share the family names. My daughter's name is Ambrosia. My granddaughter's name is Persephone, her daughter.
Ooh,
and then my grandson's name, her son is Elijah. And then my son's daughter is Nora. So there you go.
Oh,
So, yeah.
congratulations.
And my mom always goes, so how do you spell that?
Yeah, you'll be finding the little tourist like trinkets with her name on it. It's one of those names. That's the way my kids were too. Yeah.
Can we call her Sarah? No, probably not. Like my mom wanted to call my daughter Amber because it's Ambrosia, and my daughter was having none of that. It's Ambrosia, and now she goes by Brosia. So, but anyway, yeah. So, welcome to the world, Serafina. We're happy to have you here, and sorry the mess we left you.
So, what do the grandkids call you? They call you Grandpa, or they have like a special name for you?
Grandpa. Yeah.
Which
is
that.
Nice. I like that. I know.
I don't like the weird names.
Yeah. Like Gail King is always like, don't call me grandma. I don't want to be called grandma. No, embrace it, lady. I'm a grandfather. So grandpa is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like it. All right. Congratulations, dude.
Thank you very much.
Really happy
Appreciate
for
it.
you. And she looks like a cutie. I saw the picture on Facebook with Ambrosia holding her. So
yeah, she's a cutie. So I can't wait to hold her. That'll be awesome. All right.
Moving on. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can always find out what we're up to via our social media on Instagram at Tenant Podcast and our Tenant Podcast Facebook page. And of course, our website, tenantpodcast.com. We're excited to talk with our guest this week. I've had the honor of seeing her stunning work in person at the Kowen Gallery in Westminster, Colorado. You can find her on Instagram at Intuitive Art by Sarah, and her website is Sarah Larsen Art. That's Sarah with a H and Larsen with a E, not an O.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I tell people that I am a sin, not a son.
That's a good way to remember it.
I love that. So welcome to the program, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is so exciting. I've been looking at your work and I'm really excited to talk about some of this. This is going to be fun.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it is very different than anything that I've had the opportunity to see. And I just got to say that I love it. And it's very unique. I want to start off by talking about what mediums you work with and what exactly you do.
Okay. I work with acrylic on canvas. That's the bigger pieces I think that you've seen. And on the littler pieces on paper, those are high flow acrylics and pen. And then the other ones that are kind of translucent and real shiny, that is alcohol ink and pen on graphic Duralar paper, which is actually plastic. So it's technically not paper. So those are those pieces that you've seen over at Kowen Gallery. And every now and then I'll mix, the alcohol ink with acrylic, or I just kind of dabble in different mediums, but all of those were just kind of like experimental, I think. And what's really kind of unique about the bigger pieces that I create is they're created on loose canvas. And I don't use paintbrushes on really anything, but I use these acrylic refillable fine liner pens. Some people call them like needle pens. And that's what I use to create the textured line art on both the bigger and smaller pieces, but mostly the bigger pieces. And that's why the lines kind of like vary in texture and in width. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. And they just kind of become what they become. And that's kind of a theme that echoes with just about everything that I post. I just say, oh, look at what this is. And I didn't know that was going to happen, but yay, that's just kind of how it is with all of them. So
now, previous to seeing what mediums and hearing what mediums you work with, I had not heard of alcohol ink. Explain that a little bit.
Well, alcohol ink is kind of trendy right now. They're at, I would say, like your Home Goods and Targets and stuff like that on prints, but they're really a pretty flowy medium, and they're meant to look, I guess, like effortless and kind of like untouched. So you use a solution to kind of get the ink to flow, and then maybe like a dryer, like a hand dryer or something of some kind, or like little, like a straw or something to get the medium to move, and then it dries really quickly. But what I do with the alcohol ink is actually not what you're supposed to do with it. So it's supposed to be really kind of light, and you're supposed to see like the natural flow of lines. So I would equate it to kind of looking like water, but captured in the art. And so a lot of people gravitate towards it because it looks really natural and organic. I don't do that with it at all. I use it as a base, and then I put line art over it. And sometimes I make the base really, really thick, which kind of gets rid of all those natural like sinewy lines and everything. And then I put different kinds of metallics on top with the pen, or maybe like a gel white pen or something. And then those pens must have like an alcohol component in them, because then they interact with the alcohol ink, and then there's like a chemical reaction. So some people might consider that like a fail, like, oh no, like look, this gold now looks like a rust, or this white now looks pink. But I think it creates more depth, and I don't know what it's going to look like until it dries overnight the next day.
So that substrate, because you said it was more of a plastic based substrate. Does it dry fairly quickly, or does it sounds like it might take a while for it to dry? Nope.
It dries sometimes instantly. So you have to work really fast with it. And the fumes are terrible. They can cause like permanent lung damage. So you have to be in a ventilated area, not around animals, children, or people. So I will do these outdoors, wearing like a mask or a respirator, because otherwise it's pretty toxic stuff to work with. But then when it dries, it's fine. It's good. So that's what I work with in the nicer months. And then when the nicer months are done, I kind of switch over to the bigger canvas pieces. And I decide, okay, I'm going to go really big now.
So what's interesting, because I have your website up, and I'm looking at both your alcohol ink and your acrylic. The way you work on those two substrates, it looks very similar, at least on the computer. Obviously, maybe when I'm in person, totally different, but the feel is very similar.
Yes, it is. And I do get that a lot, that my work is pretty distinguished, whether it's like a 9x12 inch or, 7, 8, 9 feet wide, that you can tell that it's me and it's mine. The only difference with the smaller pieces would be that the base or what's behind the line art is flowed on there, versus on the bigger pieces, I can't do that with the paint. I have to physically apply it, and I apply that with squeegees and paint scrapers. It's just kind of the technique, with the exception of a new piece that I just tried. That piece I attempted to do more like an alcohol ink piece where the medium was flowed, I guess, onto the canvas. And I'd never tried that before. So this new piece that I'm just now finishing up on does kind of look a little bit more like my alcohol ink and high flow acrylic smaller pieces. Because my smaller pieces and my larger pieces, I would say like they're in the same family, but there's some differences to them. And I do that because it seems like the people that are really kind of drawn to my smaller pieces are kind of drawn to my bigger pieces, but they're drawn to my smaller pieces more. And then the same is true about my bigger pieces. So I was tasked with this challenge to see if I could recreate what I do in my smaller pieces and make that into a bigger piece. And I've been doing that for the last 6 weeks. So it's been pretty fun.
And I had the opportunity to see that. You shared that with me, which was really kind of you to do.
Yeah, you did.
It's extraordinary. And so how has that process affected how you do things? Do you think that's going to change things a little bit as far as being able to kind of take the way that you work small and go big? Do you see yourself continuing exploring that?
Yes, I want to do more pieces like that. There's one piece that I did that is actually on the East Coast right now. It went to a national juried exhibition at Delaplane Arts Center. It was their 2021 National Jury Exhibition, and it was selected by the curator of contemporary art at the Delaware Museum of Art. And that was the first piece that I had done, like really, really done, after 18 years of not doing anything. So to have that piece be selected and to go, to this national exhibition, which later I found out was a really, huge honor to be selected, was really incredible. But that piece is my most intricate, meticulously done, just, it's really, if you've seen my work in person, this one is like times 50 of the movement and the depths of it. And also the contrast with it being black and white. And I keep telling myself, I'm going to do that again. That's like the biggest lie we tell ourselves, right? Like, oh, I'll do another one like it. No worries. And I've yet to do another one remotely close to that until now. So this piece that I'm finishing up on is the closest to that as far as the depths and bringing it all together with the line art, because the other pieces are very, I don't know, it's like almost you can see like my arm span, like how I lay everything down. So the lines are very kind of like wave-like. And this piece with my smaller pieces, the lines are just not like that. They're different. They're more like root-like, if that makes sense. So it's like I was able to pull that in together with this bigger piece, and it's opened a door for me to create pieces for people that prefer that style more. So it makes me able to do more things, I think. My work is real variable. I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's all in a family where you can tell that, yeah, it's the same person doing it, but there's a lot of variety in my work, and there's actually a reason for that. Not everybody who likes one piece or is in love with it will be in love with everything else. And that's because the art chooses whomever it goes home with, that's how it's intended. And that's not necessarily why I create, but whatever love that's put into my pieces, they're put into my pieces with the intention that it's going to be with whomever or wherever it's meant to be. So I have such a variety of pieces in this really big collection. The collection is entitled Life because, I mean, it's life. Life is complex, right? And that very first piece that I did that went to the East Coast, that piece was the namesake piece. That piece was entitled Life. And every piece that I've done since has just been a continuation of that. So it's like a series that it's like, okay, I'm going to stop that now. Then I'm like, just kidding. Here's 12 more pieces that are an extension of that. So yeah.
Now, is that piece that we're talking about, is that on your website?
I don't think that one's on my website, but it's on my Instagram page. My website is published, but it needs updated. I do so much, and I create so prolifically that my stuff just can't keep up.
I think that's the position that a lot of artists are in. You know, the website's the thing that always suffers, because if you're creating and you're making stuff, you don't typically have time to go through the whole process all the time of getting it photographed or photographing it yourself and then getting it up on your website. So, and when you're a one person show, you know, that's a lot of hats to wear. So yeah,
you're right. It is.
I also saw listed with the materials that you work with, is it mica powder?
Yes. So I'm contracted with Artemesia. They are a like a paint and art supply company, and they're really awesome. They're really great. They love their artists. When I contracted with them, I use a lot of their metallics. Their metallics are some of the best that I've ever worked with. So that really big piece entitled Shine, the one that's blue with like a rust color, that rust was from their metallics line. They have a mica powder line that they sent me, and the powders you can actually put into anything. You can put into your makeup, you can put into your paint, and I've got a couple pieces where I put the powder into the base of the piece, and it was this really cool effect, because then if you took the scraper and you went this way, it gave it a certain effect. And then if you took it the other way, then it changed it. So it kind of made this like universe, I don't know, like outer space, like dreamlike, like magical element to it. That piece is actually in Omaha right now. And that was the first time I'd ever done that with that one. So they use those powders, I believe, in a variety of their acrylic paints, and they're really phenomenal, and they're not too grainy. So like when you touch them, it's not like you can really feel them, I guess you could say. They blend in really well. They feel like powdered sugar, but it's a mica powder. So yeah, I want to use more of those and some other pieces, maybe like this winter, because again, it gives it a really unique feel. Sometimes with the metallics, iridescence, and the powders, you're walking a fine line. You're walking a fine line between fine art and craft, you know? So at what point is this looking like fine art? And what point is this looking like, this belongs at the mall, you know, during the Christmas craft show or something like that. So I always have to be mindful of, okay, I'm going to use this, but how much of it do I use? Because once you've gone too far, you've gone too far with it. And then it just kind of looks a little, you know, so hopefully I haven't done that yet. I don't know.
Well, even if you do, there's always somebody out there that like, oh, I love this, you know, so it probably doesn't matter. But as long as you like it, you know, you got to wrap your head around it too, though, right? You got to, and maybe you fall in love with all your pieces, but as a photographer, I know I look at some of my stuff as like, oh my God, I should just quit now.
It's so funny because there's a lot of times where I'm just like, this is shit. Or I'm real critical. So this piece that I'm finishing right now, this last week, I call it the editing phase. Somebody came in to the space that I'm office sharing with, and I was explaining to them what I'm doing, and they were like, what? Like, I can't even see like what you're fixing. And what I'm doing is I'm really taking a look at it. Like, okay, the evenness, the lines, maybe this line is a little squiggly and it needs to be straight or something like that. Like, those are the things that I really look at and that I notice. And it's so funny because nobody else notices that stuff. And I remember when I was in the DC area for that show where my life went to, or my life piece, it is a life piece, right? My art piece life, where that went to, I was standing there in this exhibit. I mean, they had like just these phenomenal, just amazing artists from all over the United States, artists that exhibit in really well-known places. And then there's me, and I'm looking at my piece and I'm texting my friend and I'm just like, oh my God, this is shit. And right as I'm texting this couple walks around the corner because my piece had like its own wall. And the spouse jumps and goes, wow. And it wasn't like it was like oh my God, wow. And then I was like, oh wait, maybe like it literally like jumped out and grabbed her, And I was like, I think that is kind of what my stuff does, because people aren't expecting it. How it looks up close, how it looks from a distance, and at the halfway, mark in between there, or online and video, it looks completely different in all those variations. And I don't know how I do it, but I know that when I'm creating, it's going to turn out beautiful. Even if at that moment I'm like, I know it'll turn out beautiful. And my proof of that was I had a piece that was published in a magazine earlier this year. And out of the ones that I submitted for them, the one that they actually published was one that I sat on and was like, oh, I don't know about this one. And it was one that I was heading to the studio that day. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to finish that real quick. It's been sitting. I'm going to finish it real quick. Just get it done. Right. And that ended up being the one that got published in the magazine. out of the other three that I thought were much, I think, better, maybe my picks, they published the one that I had sitting for 2 months. Like, I don't want to finish you. So it's really interesting because what we think other people will love isn't always so. And the things that we critique or the things that we edit or whatever, other people are not seeing. And I just really try not to focus so much on that, other than whatever the piece becomes, it is just absolutely 100% meant to become that. I'm not in control. I'm just like, I don't know, the conduit, I guess. I'm just the creator, and it just becomes what it becomes. So
I love that. You're the conduit of the art.
That's right.
There's a Sarahism right there. Are you writing this down, Wes?
I already wrote down a quote.
Okay. All right.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's paraphrased, but the art chooses who it will go home with. You said that earlier.
Yeah. I thought that was a good one.
Yeah. And in a variation of that, I don't know if I got it down because you were, I'm trying to listen while I'm writing. But I love that idea that this art is in control of its own destiny, whether it's the art is being created, it's guiding you to create it. and then it chooses who it goes home with. I love that idea. It's obviously it's an abstract idea, and people would poo-poo it and say, well, that's not true. She creates it. It doesn't exist without her, and right. The art doesn't exist without the artist, but maybe the art is like, living somewhere in the ether and it wants to be created. So it picks the artist to create it in its best form. And then it picks who takes it home. Isn't that kind of a crazy idea?
I told you this was going to get weird.
I love weird. Todd can attest. I love weird.
That is what I believe, though. I create art more so for the journey than I do to create the art. The piece, the calming, all the feelings that the journey provides me is why I create. The art is but just like a beautiful capture or memory or like a photograph. Like when you go on a road trip, you have better memories of the road trip than you do of the pictures that you take of the road trip, right? That is like art for me. I really create for the process. And I also create with the sole intention of sharing love. My other business that I'd had prior to kind of embarking on this art journey was to show people how to love, not just to love outwardly, but to love inwardly, because that's really kind of something in our culture that we view as, I would even go as far as to say as taboo, or the expressions of what we think is love is absolutely not. The stuff that we see in movies, the stuff that we hear in music, that shit is all toxic. That is not what love is. So we have terrible influences of what we think love should be and what we aspire to have with love. And we don't realize that it's really something that we are free flowing within ourselves, and it's an energy. And so that was what I did pre-pandemic. Pandemic hit, and then I was like, okay, sharing love is my game, right? I'm a hopeless romantic, believer in love. How do I continue to share love? And I was like, oh, duh, the art. It's another way to share love, because essentially, when I create these pieces, and why I'm so much about, it chooses you, and it's got to be right, especially like with pieces that are commissioned. I tell people, okay, you have to love this. It's got to be right, because what I envision is you go to work, you've had a shitty day, life happens. You walk through that door, you come home, and then there's this art piece. There's this token of love, and it's there. And it's just this way to wipe all the shit from your day away. And you're like, okay, take this in. Let's let this go. I am home. I'm safe. I am loved. This token of love here that chose me is loving me. That is kind of like my intention for everything that I create and everything that I do. So everything that you see, it is absolutely full of movement and absolutely full of energy, and it's infinitely imbued with love. It depends on who it chooses. And I also think part of that depends on who it chooses, depending on the theme of the piece. And a lot of my pieces, unless it's commissioned, they only have a one-word title. And there's a reason for that too, because I don't want people to think about it too much. I want people to experience the piece. And my pieces are very in-depth and complex, intricate, meticulous, whatever, colorful, some aren't. But I want them to see the title of the piece and then have their own interpretation of it and to experience it and not be so lost in like, oh, okay, well, what does she mean? Well, it doesn't fucking matter what I mean. It's what does it mean to you? Right. So the piece is there to love you. The piece has a feeling, has an intention with a name. It's got to choose you. And when you walk into your door that day, it's there to love you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. We should approach everything that way. Like, I look at music that same way. I know that sometimes it can have negative effects on us. A lot of music has that, but there are pieces of music that are very moving, and whether it's flashbacks of nostalgia of a time past, or just the feeling of love or whatever you get. That's what I love about art, and I think people should look at artwork. Especially people should look at abstract art that way. What's it trying to invoke in me? How can I connect with it in a loving way? What energy am I pulling from that?
Right. I think it would be very arrogant of me to say, oh, I know what you're thinking when you look at this. I have no idea. I'm a counselor and people still think that I read minds for a living. And I'm like, oh God, no. And I hope I'm never able to. That's creepy. That's not what it is at all. I have intentions behind every piece, and there's definitely something imbued within them, but ultimately they're an extension of me, and it's open to the interpretation of whomever, experiences it, sees it. You're either on board with it, you love it, or you don't. And sometimes the reason is because it brings out an emotion that's raw, and we don't like how that feels. And that's hard. Sometimes it's for other reasons. It's just not your aesthetic, whatever it is. I'm not in control of any of that. But I will say that I honestly don't know what anybody thinks or how it makes them feel unless they tell me.
Right.
No idea. I'm in central Nebraska and the corn desert right now. So most of my work is not here. It's everywhere else. I have no idea.
You talked about earlier on, you kind of touched about being prolific, and I definitely got that sense. But the reality of it is, and you touched on this a little bit too, you really have only concentrated on doing this art and been doing this for a couple years. Is that correct?
Yes.
So talk about that history of your engagement with art, because in a previous conversation, you kind of touched on that you grew up doing art and then you stopped, and then talk about the catalyst for why you started up again.
So I was always drawn to art when I was younger. I was a weird kid. I didn't have a whole lot of friends growing up. I had select mutism and some quirks, real extreme severe anxiety and issues. And later on, I found out when I was in grad school that a lot of that was due to having obsessive compulsive disorder, which I didn't even know that my quirks and things that I was experiencing weren't what everybody else experienced until I was sitting in grad school in a class covering all the symptomology. And I was like, oh shit. You mean not everybody avoids stepping on cracks? Like, what are you talking about? Art was kind of my escape growing up, and I really loved drawing cartoons. And I would say I was good enough at drawing them. I would get criticized by teachers, parents, or whatever, accused often that I was copying. Well, back then, the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't really a way to copy things like there is right now. But that didn't stop me. It was in 7th grade that my art teacher at the time, which is ironically the same age as my daughter is right now, who I think might be having some of a similar experience with her art teacher, came up to me and said, have you ever thought about drawing anything other than cartoons? And I said, no, and I never will. Like, what are you talking about? And it planted a seed because I never thought about it. I didn't think that there was anything else to draw other than cartoons. People like cartoons, right? I was drawing my own style of cartoon in addition to like drawing like Disney characters and comics and stuff like that. But it was when I got to high school, I was sent to a different high school from the rest of my peers, my parents choosing, that I really kind of dipped into art as my means of escapism. And that was what breathed light into the line art. Lines just made sense. So it started like, I guess I started doodling probably on the pages of my papers in junior high. And then it kind of moved on to sketchbook papers in high school. And then I took an A&P class in high school, and we went and we saw the cadaver. And that just was overload, but it allowed me to really kind of look at the body and learn how to draw the body and what's the body full of, lines, right? And muscles and everything. So then I kind of really started incorporating line art with figurative art. And what really set me off was my art teacher then went around the room and he would tell other classmates to say, or he would say to them, here, you draw a cube, you draw a sphere, you draw a pyramid. Sarah, here's a mirror, you draw yourself. And I would say, oh no, I could, but because he told me to, I didn't. So I got a 5% in art that year. And I remember my dad being so pissed and saying, Sarah, how can you draw and fail art and fail it so miserably? And I was like, oh, just wait, watch until I fail English too. I was so great at failing everything. So art was my focus throughout high school. But then when I got into the line art and then to the figurative stuff, out of the cartoons that people loved, I got criticism about it. People thought it was weird. People thought it was dark. They thought it was gloomy. So I would create it and I'd throw it away. And then I graduated high school and I just thought, okay, this is just something that's not realistic for me. My art is shit. People don't like it. They like the cartoons. I can do the cartoons. They're fun, but that's not what I want to do. So I moved to Omaha with my best friend. She was in med school and I was working at the restaurant, and I thought maybe I would go to school, pursue plus size modeling or something. Failed at all of that. And I decided where I was actually really good was helping people. So I moved back to Grand Island and I did 222 credits over 8 years and got 3 degrees. Mind you, when I was in high school, I barely graduated. I showed up to my high school graduation not knowing if I got my diploma. I opened my envelope after, not sure that there was one in there. And when I went to college, I had to start pretty much completely over. I started with basic math, and my English courses, I didn't know the difference between two, and two, there, and there. So it was a long haul. There wasn't time for art. I didn't think I was good at it. I became a therapist. I got my master's degree. That surprises a lot of people. I think when I tell them that, knowing who I was when I was in high school. What brought me back to art actually was my parents died. My dad died. And then a couple years later, my mom died. And a week before my mom died, that same art teacher from 7th grade, who's now a really good friend of mine, I went to a gallery exhibition for a gallery that he had opened recently in my hometown with the school. And he said, you should come and do a gallery exhibit here. And I was like, what? I haven't created anything in, at that time, 16, 17 years or something. And he's like, it's okay. I'll give you a year to do it. And if you need to co-exhibit, I've got people. But he's like, yeah, you should. And we were talking about how difficult it is to get into galleries, especially when you're somebody with no portfolio or maybe without any experience or training. So he thought maybe this was a good way to kind of get my toes wet. So I said, okay. And I told my mom. She died a week later. So that put the show on hold for a while. And I remember thinking, can I do this? Would anybody come? Because moms, oh, they're such a cheerleader, right? But she died, and I had to tend to that. I had to learn all about estate planning, selling my childhood home, all the fun stuff that comes with death on top of the legal side of it. I became well acclimated with it. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to New York City. I'd never been. I've always wanted to go. So I went to New York City that October. She died in July. And I went by myself. And I had to check in with my friends and family every few hours to let them know I wasn't dead, chopped up somewhere. Because to be a small town, I guess, Nebraskan girl, and to go to a giant city by yourself, I think to a lot of people seems kind of crazy. But I said, you know what? Life is short. And I really had that slapped in my face. So I went. And it wasn't intimidating. It wasn't like, holy shit, this is too much. I walked those streets by myself. It's impossible to get lost there. I don't care what anybody says. It's lit up 24/7. It's so easy to find your way. And I just got lost in the culture. And I remember thinking back to 18-year-old me. And I thought, art, you just started this painting a couple weeks ago for this art exhibit that you've got a year to create work for. And here you are in New York City, like this art mecca, and you're seeing art, murals, art and architecture. I mean, everywhere you go, there's art. There's art in fashion, art in the food that you're eating, art on the streets, people selling their art in the galleries. And I just remember feeling very at home, very at peace and calm. And then I sat in Times Square and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I need to set up something here and start doing a dance and collecting money. Like, this is so my shit. Like, I could do all of this and not be intimidated by any of it, be a street performer. Like, that's art too. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. And my art's going to be here someday. And that day happened in June of this year. My art went to New York City. So the time is now. No matter what we want to do or what's on the back burner, there really is no time to waste because it's just not guaranteed. That all happened in October of 2019. I think we all know what happened in the months coming after that. Had I not gone there when I had, I probably wouldn't have. Everything shut down not long after that. And then my holistic practice kind of took a break because I wasn't able to do those courses and teach at those institutions and whatnot. So I had this time to create, and now it's just kind of like, okay, here I am and here it is. And the time is now. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring or that there will always be another tomorrow. But here I am. A lot of people would love to be able to do what I'm doing right now, and they can't. So I'm not going to take it for granted.
That's beautiful.
It was a really long answer. Sorry.
No, it was
a beautiful answer.
It was a beautiful answer. And boy, hearing that story and then seeing your work in person at Kowen, that was fantastic. Both my wife and I resonated with it. And there's some large pieces there. And for people that, if you have the opportunity, if you live here in Colorado or one of these places where Sarah's work is currently showing, and we'll talk a little bit about that more here in a moment, please go see it in person because it is an experience. And what you don't see, and you'll see the beauty on her Instagram and on her website, but in person, it's a whole different experience, kind of like you explained earlier. And it's dimensional. And like you said, viewing it at different distances brings different things into what you're perceiving at that time. And I think that's why I love it so much. I love the color palette that you use in these pieces. I love how emotive it is. And I love that feminine touch that each one of these has as well. It really speaks to me, and they really are. They're stunning. If you would have told me that you'd only been doing this work for the last couple of years, I would have never, ever believed that.
You didn't. When I told you that those pieces were my first attempts.
Yeah. Like what the, like, oh my God.
They are. So, in a previous conversation that I'd had with you, I'd said that the really big pieces were the first time I'd done that on large canvas. The small high flow acrylics on paper is the first time I had worked with high flow acrylic. And then the alcohol inks that are there are the first time I'd worked with alcohol ink. So all those pieces that you have seen, they're each the first of my working with those mediums, all of them.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And how did you, and maybe you can't pinpoint, but how did you come to your style? What was the influence for that?
I think it wasn't so much of an influence as it feels right. So that comes from a place of neurodivergence, I believe. So neurodivergence, when you hear about that, we think of like obsessive compulsive disorder, autism, ADD, ADHD. And basically what it means is that like my brain works differently than other people's brains. There's something about nature, lines, texture, it makes sense to me. It feels right to me. And the specific kind of OCD that I have is called scrupulous OCD. And there's two variations of it. There's religious and there's moral. Mine is moral. And what that means is having to do the right thing. So in a nutshell, my biggest fear is doing something wrong. Isn't that just something? Oh, shit. Did I say something wrong? So when I'm creating art, part of it is the challenge to overcome is knowing that there's no possible way I can do this wrong. And what always feels right are the lines, the lines. And I think that's because they're ever present in life. I mean, everything has lines and texture, and I mean, it's just everywhere. So I don't know that it's so much that I came to it as it came to me, and it probably came to me as like a stemming or a self-soothing thing, and then it blossomed into a creative process of art.
I love that. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier. It comes from you or through you. And it just really connects. And I agree with Todd. And unfortunately, I haven't seen it yet in person. I can't wait till I can. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I love the line work. And I don't see anything very much like this. I think it's very, very unique. And that's why when I hear you say that you've only been doing this professionally for, I know you've been doing art all your life, but when I hear that you've only been doing it for such a short time, I mean, it's so original that it's hard to believe that, because most people, including me, I start with copying what other people have been doing. And I go back to what your 7th grade teacher says is like, do you want to do anything other than cartoons? And look what came out. I mean, it comes from that, right? Because it comes from your experience, but look what come out. Something completely different than I'm seeing anywhere.
I've heard that. There are other line artists out there. That is true. And of course they naturally come up like in my feed because, I use those tags a lot, the algorithm, right? But I haven't seen anybody quite do, not necessarily exactly or quite like I do, especially with the alcohol inks. And that was the criticism that I'd gotten when I got on with the collective in New York City. They said something like, we've been at this a while and we've never seen anything like this here. And that's been several months ago. And the Nebraskan in me is like, oh, you're being nice, thank you. But then I sit back and think about it, and it's like, well, no, art can be very like, I love it or it's shit. And I'm going to tell you that whether you want to hear it or not. And absolutely nobody has anything to gain by telling me either, by telling me they either love it or they hate it. Nobody has anything to gain by that. So for somebody to tell me that they haven't quite seen what I do or to that, I guess, level, I believe it. And I believe it because I haven't seen it either. And I don't know where it's going, but I'm excited to see where it leads, what it evolves to, how it unfolds. I think it's all thrilling and exciting. I remember walking down the streets of Santa Fe back in January when I brought all of my pieces at the time to be worked on and stretched. And I remember thinking two things. Will my work ever be down here on Santa Fe? And then after I went and looked at all the art, the other thing that I noticed was there wasn't anything there like mine. And then that made me wonder, why? and now it's there. Now it's on Santa Fe. So, I mean, that's amazing. That's wonderful that it is. It's been there since July, but I wonder that. I wonder, why isn't there art like mine, at certain galleries or in certain art scenes? And sometimes I wonder if it's because it just doesn't exist yet, or if that's the market, or what. I don't know. I don't, but I do exist.
Yes, you do. And we're glad you do. Do you consider this abstract art, or how do you define it?
I have been told that it's not. I've been told that it's not abstract art. And then I've been told, yes, it is abstract art. I don't know what I would call it. I've also been told that it's non-objective art. So I've just stuck to intuitive. Intuitive art is how I describe it, because when I create it, it starts from something completely blank with no plan, unless it's a commission piece and they kind of give me, an idea or color scheme or something like that, then that's a little bit different. But when it's me creating it, it is legitimately a blank canvas. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what colors I'm going to use. I just pick, and I just go with it. And it just becomes what it becomes. But when I think of like, what do I call this, or what do I say it is? Or when people ask me, oh, you're an artist, how do you describe your stuff? I don't know. I don't have the words to.
Right. And it's probably a stupid question that only people like me ask, but
no, but I think it's reasonable, right? Because, people want to kind of wrap their heads around it, and they always want to categorize stuff.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
like we've already discussed previous, it's so different and unique, and it's so individualistic. And I mean, that's with all art, but very much so. I mean, just the conversation that we've had thus far, and then you look at the art and you go, wow, well, I totally get why this is coming out of her. Like I can totally see it. It seems so
I hear that too. Yes, that it seems like me. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but I hear that.
It's a feeling. I'm grasping at straws a little bit, but it's an intuitive, here we go. Feeling that I get talking with you. It's a feeling I get when I look at the art, and you're on this podcast today because I was fortunate enough to interact with Krista, owner of Kowen Gallery, and she said, "Hey, you got to check out this." And I was like, "Wow, it literally knocked my socks off." And
Thank you.
So then you make the list of people I definitely want to talk to, and here we are. Again, I don't think you really do fit into any category. If I, like Wes, I would kind of go down the abstract road. But it's very different than, and this is probably why people go, well, it's definitely not abstraction. It's definitely not abstract art, because it's not like anything else out there. It does not. It defies category.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That's mind blowing. And that's mind blowing to me because I'm not as well acclimated as both of you are in the art world. I mean, out of the 222 credits I took in college, 6 were art history.
Well, surprise, we're not art historians either, or art critics. We are 2 guys that are photographers, but have a curiosity for art. But, we've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, this is an education for us, all the time. We learn something new every week.
And we're learning it right with you too today. I'm just like, my head is swimming with excitement looking at your stuff and listening to your talk. I want to kind of touch on something that we were talking before we started recording, right? And I think this is a perfect time. You say you start with an empty canvas, right? And where's the muse sitting? On your shoulder? Is there a muse? Can you turn? Do you have to wait for hours for the inspiration to start, or how does that work?
No.
Yeah, what's the process?
So, so before I had said that my kids are very much a part of the art creating. So whether I'm creating in my home or at the studio, my kids are there, and I am super encouraging of them, like, hey, like, do you want to create alongside me, or what do you want to do? One of my pieces actually has little 3 or 4-year-old footprints on them.
Nice.
That then was made into line art. I'm really about creating that environment to support and nurture creation with my family, because it's really such a beautiful experience, and it's something that I don't necessarily want to say that I want it to be private. I want it to be open. I want it to be warm. I want it to be seen, and I want it to be acknowledged. And I think what I was talking about earlier was that there are a lot of myths about art and creating, and that you have to wait for inspiration to strike. You have to wait until the dead of the night, or it has to be in solitude, all these different things. Well, when you start telling yourself that that's how it has to be, then what you're doing is you're limiting yourself. And that's not how any of that works. Your ability to create is with you all the time. All you have to do is turn on the switch. It's always there. Does that mean that we don't experience creative blocks and all of that? Yeah, sure we do. Life gets in the way, but you have to schedule it into your life and prioritize it, just like anything else, just like eating, sleeping, part of your self-care. It's an extension of you. It's always with you. So when I create, I clock in and I clock out. And I can only create for about 6 hours at a time. And the reason why that is because I have a giant tumor in my hand. I have only about 70 or 75% range of motion in that hand. So about at the 6 hour mark is when I physically cannot use that hand anymore. And that's something I've learned along the way. So about 6 hours every day is all I can do. But yeah, for me, it's just like, okay, I'm here. Let's get started and let's go. And those 6 hours, they just pass like a blink of the eye, kind of like watching your kids grow, right?
Yeah.
Super fast. You don't know where it goes. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked to that, because I think a lot of people approach creativity like there's something that's like the muse that's away from them, apart from them, that they have to wait to show up. And then I think other people have to be in the right mindset to create, or, like Fran Lebowitz has been on she's a writer. She's been on a writing block for 30 years. It's like that's impossible. You just need to sit down and write. And I think painting is the same way. I think you just got to do it. I mean, when I approach photography, sometimes I'm like, I want to create a different body of art that's different than what I've been doing. It's my problem is trying to figure out, what do I want to do? How do I want to do it? And that's where my blocks come in, is like, I see so many influences and I want to do something that's completely original, but I'm not sure how to get there yet. And it's just a process. And part of it is a con. Part of it is a con to myself to keep me from doing what I really want to do, because I'm fearful. Which leads me to a question. I'm sorry, Todd, I'm hoping I'm kind of dominating.
No, you're going down this path I was going to go. So on with it.
how did you get the guts to do this full time on its own? Because it sounds like you left your other career and then started this, but that's a scary thing, right? Am I right in that assumption or not?
Well, let's talk about what you do for your normal everyday job.
Because
you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, I'm a
So you are still doing therapy.
Yes. So I still have a private practice, and the art is what I do in between sessions too. But I also have days where they're art days. So I create art throughout the days that I do therapy, and then I have days that are strictly for art. But I see what you're saying, though, like to go into art, to be able to do that and to be able to do it confidently, because there is another myth of the starving artist, which is also crap. Why I did that and why I'm doing that now, I think I touched a little bit on before, because the time is now, and also because I'm not afraid of anything. I've experienced a lot of extremes in my life, a lot of extremes that other people haven't experienced, I think. But I think in experiencing those extremes, that makes me able to relate with a lot of people from various walks of life. So it allows me to connect with more people. Art is another way for me to connect. And a lot of the experiences that I've had in my life, my pieces are reflective of those experiences. So there's no way to fail. Failure doesn't exist. Failure is this concept created in our culture for us to fear when it is invisible. There's only growth. There's only life. There's only living. The worst thing you could possibly do is to exist. The movie Groundhog Day, I reference that all the time. I'm getting to the point where my younger population that I treat is like Bill Murray. And I'm like, oh, please don't. You're breaking my heart. Like, really? How do you know? It's Bill Murray. But Groundhog Day, I remember seeing that in my youth. And then only until like later on in life did that really make sense, where every day feels the same, but it also feels like it's dragging, but it's flying by. And then all of a sudden, the days turn into weeks, the weeks turn into years, and you're like, oh shit, where has my life gone? And then you're filled with regrets. That's because of fear. And sometimes that's also because of fear of failure, or the failures we experience, because we get stuck in them. Like, oh no, this didn't work out, so now I'm never going to try anything again. Oh my goodness, I have failed more as a human and more as so many different things in life than I haven't. And anytime that I have failed, or whatever you call it, it's always led to better things, because whatever hasn't worked out is meant because that wasn't what was supposed to be. Something better was along the way. And for my holistic practice to kind of take the turn that it did, I think somebody would view that as, oh, well, you couldn't make it work during the pandemic. That's a failure. No, that's just on hold for now. Right now I'm doing art and I'm sharing love that way. It's only a failure if you believe that it is. What we believe in really is powerful. So you might as well believe in yourself, right? It's amazing what beautiful things can happen when you do.
I'm so glad you spoke to that fear, because I've had this conversation a couple times in the last week with people that I, deem like very successful and very prolific in their field, but yet they still have this inner voice that says you're just not good enough.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome, right? And a lot of artists, a lot of people in general suffer from that, right? I'm sure you see it all the time.
I have too. Oh yeah. Especially a scrupulous OCD, which is like 50% that. Do you really know the things that you do? Like, really? Are you sure that you're not wrong right now? Did you spell that right? It's all those things. It's all tied to to worth and value. And our culture doesn't help with that. Our culture is designed to make you feel like shit. It's designed to make you feel less than. It's designed to make you feel that you're worthless. That's why America is run by advertising, because it's like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Here, buy this. It'll make you feel better. That is
such a fucking trap, isn't it?
That's what consumerism is. Yeah. You'll feel better once you buy this. Yeah, exactly.
You do for a little bit, but then you end up feeling worse, because then you spent money on stuff that, only gives you short-term gratification. And then you end up feeling more worse. And then you delve into whatever vice or whatever thing to make you feel better because of doing this and doing that. It's a sick pattern that we all ultimately get stuck into. And then we end up feeling like we're less than, no matter all the great things that we do. And our society also tells us, oh, well, you can't say that you're good at that because that makes you cocky. No. Okay. So arrogance and being cocky is saying, I am the best that ever lived and the best at doing, that, whatever that is. Nobody is better than me. Confidence is knowing that you're really good at what you do and you don't have to defend yourself or get validation from anybody to know that that is true. And we tend to blur the lines between those two. So as far as my art goes, and maybe what makes me a little bit different is I'm past the point where I feel like I need that validation or that acceptance or whatever, or that I'm teetering on whether or not it's good, or that I'm wondering whether or not people love it or like it, or I'm thinking about that while I'm creating it. Like, is this good enough? And is that tied to me? Like, I'm able to separate everything out. Like, I know that if I make this art piece and somebody doesn't like it, it has nothing to do with me personally. It's just not their thing. It's not their jam. And it also has nothing to do whether or not, the piece sucks. It's just not their taste. And that is perfectly okay. I have a lot of respect and a lot of love for so many different arts out there. Photography, I have no idea. Like, trying to figure out how to flip my camera around on this phone would be a miracle, right? Right. Talking to you. So watercolor, oil, sculpting, fiber art, architecture, all these different art mediums, I wish I knew how to do. And maybe I don't understand, what's so great about them, or I'm blown away by them, but never once would I think, oh, okay, that is representative of who that person is as a person. So why would I ever think that about me and my work? Whatever that work is, whether that's art, whether that's as a therapist, holistic practitioner, whatever. And if that is what somebody is thinking, that's them. That's a projection. That's their own shit. That has nothing to do with us. Right. It's just directed towards us that day. So they've got some stuff going on. So yeah. Things are actually a lot more simple than what we think. We complicate them. The things that are really simple that we complicate, one would be love, because love is an energy and it's something that is so easy to share. But we complicate it, and we complicate it because life complicates it. We also complicate it because people suck at communication. Myself included, and I'm a therapist, right? I think I'm this expert communicator, and sometimes, like my kids will be like, "Mom, I have no idea what you're saying," and I'm like, "Really? You don't?" Well, we're human, right? So things are really just much more simple than we realize, but we complicate them because we think that's what other people are thinking or expecting or wanting. And then we think that's a reflection of us when really nobody's thinking about us at all. I mean, they don't. We're all thinking about our own shit. They're not. We're much more simple creatures than what we realize. I kind of went counselor there. Sorry about that.
No, it's just you're so on point. You really are, and I'm loving this conversation.
I am too. And the one thing I'd say about that is there's a reason it was out there is because somebody needed to hear that. And I'm not even saying it's us three, but somebody out there needed to hear that. So simplify your life, get rid of the shit, and look at things a little bit more simple than what you're projecting it out to be.
Yes, definitely. Something I tell my clients, I tell them, okay, you are loved and people care about you, but where our suffering comes in is our own judgment and our own criticism perceived by what we think others are thinking or perceiving or doing. So a perfect example of that, I get on social media and somebody posts a meme and I'm like, oh shit, is that about me? That is American society that has conditioned us because we are selfish. It's that America First mentality where we think that, oh, if somebody posts this, I must have done something to them. That's why they're posting it. They're vague booking it or whatever. It must be about me. When really it's not, but we're so conditioned in our society and our culture to think that way, that is just how we react to things. So yes, of course, we're going to think that, that maybe we don't know everything that we know because society has made us doubt that, or maybe our art isn't as good as what it is because one person kind of turned their nose up to it, but yet 30 other people loved it. We put so much emphasis on negative stuff and we take stuff so damn personally when really nobody is thinking about us at all. I mean, our loved ones, yes. The people that care about us, yes. But nobody is thinking about us as much as we think that they're thinking about us. My example that I give to people about that is go to a gym. The universal sign that nobody gives a shit is they're wearing their ear pods or headphones, right? But the reason why so many of us stop ourselves from going to the gym is because we're worried of what other people are going to think. Well, nobody gives a shit because they don't want to talk to you. They're wearing their headphones, right? Whether they're on or they're dead or not, they're wearing them. That's the sign of leave me alone. So they're in their own little worlds. They're doing their own little thing. Maybe they're recording a TikTok or Instagram Live. I don't know, but nobody is looking at you, is caring about you, but we think that they are. So those fears stop us from doing. Those fears stop us from living. Those fears keep us in existing. And that is not what life is about. What do you got to lose? Nothing. You have everything to gain. So might as well see what it's about.
I love that analogy of the gym because I have headphones on when I'm going, but the reason I do is because I'm trying to ignore the fact that I feel like I'm going to die. So Peter Frampton or Fleetwood Mac or whomever's keeping me from realizing that, oh my God, I could have a major heart attack any moment now. So,
well, we all could, but
right.
I mean, but you keep going, and at least you're jamming out to good tunes while
That's
you
right.
do.
That's right. That's right.
New Magazine is our media sponsor for the Tenet podcast. That's NUE. You can follow both the national and the Denver edition of New Magazine on Instagram. The national edition can be found at new_magazine and the Denver edition at new_Denver_magazine. Look to New for compelling stories from the world of art and fashion. Thanks for listening.
My name is Sarah Larsen, and you're listening to the Tenet podcast.
Since we've been talking about touching a little bit about what you do professionally every day, I want you to take a moment. We're going to step away a little bit from the art and just talk about all the different things that you do as a therapist and what you offer, because you do a lot of you offer a lot of different things. So talk a little bit about that.
About what I do as a therapist?
Yeah. Like, what do you specialize in? And then you also have a holistic practice as well, and talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So I'm a licensed independent mental health practitioner and a licensed professional counselor in the state of Nebraska. I've had a private practice here in central Nebraska since 2013, but I've been counseling since 2012. So we have to intern, for like a year prior to graduating. So that has been mostly what I've done. In the beginning of my practice, I worked a lot with the Department of Health and Human Services, probation. I did a stint for a while in corrections where I saw both incarcerated people who were from the state because of overcrowding. So from all the prisons around the state, they were in my county, and then also county inmates. So people who were in for less than a year at the county level, and people who were in for a very, very, very long time. During that time, I also taught GED to inmates there. I saw a lot of kiddos. That was probably the bulk of my practice in the beginning was family, kids, and the incarcerated population. And then about the 5-year mark, I did kind of a switch, started looking at more the holistic route, because I was having medical issues that at my age I should not have been having. And also because my dad had passed away. My dad had passed away from some stuff that I was walking the fine line of developing myself. I was a mom to one, and after having fertility issues, had become finally pregnant with my second. And after his birth, I thought, okay, I've got to do some major lifestyle changes. Otherwise, I'm going to be in the same, predicament as my dad, and then, end up, being like my mom as well. So long story short, I flipped gears from therapy into the holistic practice. But my orientation as a therapist was to treat people holistically anyway, meaning as a whole. So when people would come in, a lot of times they would present with psychosomatic issues. Anytime I ever hear psychosomatic, I think we all think of the same 90s song, right? Do you know which song I'm talking about? Please.
Which song are you referencing?
Oh my gosh, I can't even think about it, but it was psychosomatic, addict, insane. It was what it says all the time. I can't even remember who sings it, but that's what I always think of. I think of like on the radio and psychosomatic, addict, insane. And I'm like, oh, that's a terrible combination. So I always make sure to tell people that's not what psychosomatic is. So psychosomatic is like your body is doing stuff physically to bring awareness to what you're not dealing with emotionally. And my clients would come in presenting with physical issues, and I would go and have them get a physical or go and see their medical provider, because I would want to see what came first. Okay, are we having these anxious or depressive symptoms or these other things because we're having this physical problem, or is the physical problem causing the mental health issues? Which one is coming first? Which one is happening first? So a lot of the treatment that I would provide would be for depression and anxiety, would probably be most common. And in Nebraska, codependency. Codependency is also very common. Then again, at that 5-year mark was when I was like, okay, I'm seeing some trends here. A lot of physical stuff integrated with the mental health stuff. And what I found out was that your mental health is really kind of the predictor of your physical health, especially once you get into your 40s. By not taking care of your mental health early on in life, by putting it off, leads up to this irreparable damage that you cause later on in life. But here's the deal. We still have this stigma. I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked, oh, well, they're going to therapy or people do that. Like, what's wrong with them? Well, nothing has to be wrong with you to go to therapy. It's just nice to be heard, nice to be seen. I went and sought services when my parents died because guess what? That shit sucks, right? It's a lot to deal with. Sometimes we just need a place to process, and grieving is normal, it's natural, just as birth, right? It's part of life. We can't escape it. Loss is part of life. I would also get criticism about like, oh, you're seeing the crazies, and I would just feel so terrible for people that believe that, because I thought, oh, what support aren't you getting? What love aren't you feeling? How aren't you being heard? And I so hope that someday you will be, because mental health support should be just as normalized as telling somebody who your family doctor is, because we talk about that stuff all the time. Oh, hey, who do you go see for this? Oh, well, I see this person as my dentist. Well, mental health should be just right up there, normalized. So I flipped the switch into holistic health because I wanted to be able to help people more than I could with just therapy alone. Therapy can be limiting sometimes. I can't see family. I can't see friends. I can't see anybody that I've got like any kind of bias towards. And there's a lot of limitations to how I can help and where I can help. So I wanted to create a practice which was more broad and where I could help, and I could help holistically. And I did that. So I kind of created like a holistic thing in central Nebraska, like a holistic expo where I brought providers from all over Texas, even and from, I think, like different coasts, West Coast or East Coast, I don't remember. But my intention was to bring love and light to central Nebraska and to show people that there are lots of different options to heal yourself from the inside out. And I taught courses. I traveled to Sedona a lot. It's a great place, especially for pictures, to learn about self-love, to learn how to teach others to love. I taught people how to meditate, children even. I had a little meditation room in my office at that time. And I was teaching something like 30 courses a year between Nebraska, Colorado, and Kansas at spiritual centers here at my location in Grand Island, and at colleges and universities. And I even held a retreat in Estes Park. So that's what I was doing prior to. And then I kind of just started dipping into the art a little bit. And then again, the pandemic hit, and then I had to cancel my courses, my sessions, because all those things were in person. And no, it's the art, but I'm very much in love with helping people. Like that altruism has always been my calling. I've always been that person. I've always been that person that people come to for help, but it's not reciprocal, if that makes sense. So people come to me for help, for guidance, for love, and for caring. And then once that, I guess, need is fulfilled, then they move along their way. And I kind of discovered that pattern when I was, I think, 19 or 20. And then that's why I decided to go to school to learn about it, to learn how to be a counselor, to learn how to help people, and also to learn about my own stuff too, because I knew I had mental health stuff. I just didn't know like what it was. And I thought, okay, if I can help people, by helping me, maybe be that person, especially like during their teen years, because the teen years can be so rough. If I can be that for other people, then it's worth it.
So you're still working as a therapist, yeah, or no?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm still doing therapy.
So you are seeing clients, and you
Yep.
see clients not only in Nebraska, but also elsewhere. Is that correct?
I will be. Yes, I'm in the process of getting licensed in other states to open up the pool. But right now, most of my clients are throughout the state of Nebraska, but I also do coaching too. So
Life
I've got
coaching.
Yep.
Wow. So that's a lot of hats. That's a lot of things you have going on.
I do. I do a lot of different things. Yeah. I sent you a lot of stuff.
So you sound like you're creating every day at some point. Is that correct? Or is you also alluded to the fact, or at least in conversation that we had previous, you have a schedule, like certain days of the week that you're scheduled to make art. Is that correct?
Yes, I've got studio days. So where I go to my art studio and where I paint, those are like my bigger canvases. At home, so I work from home. I do like telehealth or, Zoom or something like that for the coaching clients. Those are the smaller pieces that I work on in between sessions. So like the alcohol inks, I do those from here, but I would say, probably about every day I'm working on something, and I don't just work on one thing at a time. I usually have multiple things. I've got, I think 4 or 5 that I'm working on right now. It doesn't always appear that way when I share online. It kind of looks like I'm like, this is just what I'm doing right now or what's going on right now. But I've usually got 4 to 5 that I'm doing at the same time.
And outside of like the routine of making art around doing your counseling and your life coaching, how does that professional life affect your art life, your art making? Do you find yourself in the process of thinking the things? I mean, not only in your own life, but maybe things that are going on with other people. Does that affect your art? Does that come into play?
The art is catharsis. So, the single best way to reduce cortisol in the body is to create. That is an evidence-based fact. Doesn't matter what the process of creation is. Could be anything. Could be painting, drawing, doodling, weaving, baking, landscaping, cooking. I mean, anything that involves creation reduces cortisol. I started creating in between sessions as a means to help me, because I'd learned to do that in an art therapy course. The art therapist said that we needed an outlet, because what therapists tend to do is we tend to see client after client after client after client. And mental work, especially like when you're an introvert, is like, which I actually am. I know
I was going to ask you that question too.
Yeah, I'm actually an introvert, and a lot of people are like, "What?" So 3 hours of physical work is equivalent to like 1 hour of mental work for me. So if I see 5 clients in a day, that's like doing 15 hours of like waiting tables back when I waited tables, for 10 years. So what we have to do is we have to have designated time in between that mental work to basically come down, to process, and to be, whether that's creating art or meditating or going for a walk or eating something that's, that's good for us, drinking water, doing some sort of self-care, because if you don't, it's really a lot, because sometimes people are just going through a lot. And I also identify as an empath too. So I wear a lot, I care so much about other people. Sometimes sitting there and helping them through and being there, it's like you can feel what they're feeling, and it can be a lot. So we have to have a healthy outlet in order for me to be the best me, in order to help you, So I would say, yeah, I create something every day. And that's kind of, part of my motto is just to create something beautiful every day. It doesn't matter what that is. It's not always fine art. I mean, it's coloring with my son in his Jurassic Park coloring book that I just brought him home when I was in Denver this last time. It's going to be carving pumpkins probably tonight. It's anything. It's sitting with my daughter while she explains to me her anime and creating alongside her and trying to understand anime because I still don't get it, but I'm trying. It's anything. Creation is anything. Baking cookies with her. It's anything.
And obviously doing this art, not only does it help process, but it's also a way of healing, right? Because you've been grieving your parents, and I imagine that this has been helpful in that whole process. Yeah.
Yes, it has. It has. I'm at the position that I am with my grief journey because of art and getting my own support too. I'm able to talk about it and talk about it very openly. And I find that a lot of people seek me out because they know that I've been there and there. I've had a lot of people seek me out because they resonate. I've had a lot of people seek me out because of the piece that's at Kowen, the purple piece. Did you see that one?
Yes, I did.
So that one is entitled Loss. I created that one. And the reason why that one is so big is because I wanted to be able to capture what loss feels like. I wanted to capture all the depths, layers, bits of darkness, bits of lightness, and just really how big and monumental it was, but visually, because loss is really something that our culture pretends doesn't exist, but we all experience loss, and not just death. How many of us encountered loss just through the pandemic, loss of living the life that we were used to living every single day that was ripped out from underneath us. For me, it was March 13th of 2020. I picked up my office that day, and I knew that I would never be back in that office again. Even though that they were saying, oh, well, you'll be back, Easter. I knew that I would never be doing therapy in that office again. And it's true. I moved out a few months later. So we all encounter loss. We all deal with loss. And I created that piece because I wanted to see if I could capture it, and not just capture it visually, but I wanted to see if I could take something that's so hard, so relatable on so many different levels, that I wanted to see if I could make it beautiful. And I don't know if I did or if I didn't, but I think it is. And I love the color purple. I'm wearing purple today, so.
And there's a lot of purple in a lot of these pieces. Not all of them, but I mean, I see it, and I love those pieces. In fact, let's take a moment and talk about a piece right now. I'm going to pull up a piece that Wes really liked and wanted to talk about. This one's titled Coral.
That one's coral. That one is so fun and pretty, isn't it? Doesn't it look like a coral reef?
Yeah, I love this piece. So can you talk about creating it and what you were going for?
So that piece was one of my first goes at Alcohol Inc. And that one was one of the first ones I sold actually at Kowen Gallery. I don't think I've created another one that looks like that. with all the open space in between. A lot of times I feel that one I felt like I shouldn't. And I started on the top there where it's kind of almost fanned out like leaves. And then I kind of worked my way down. And it wasn't until I finished it that I realized that it looked like a coral leaf. And it's really kind of funny because I've heard that a lot about other pieces, that my other pieces look like coral leaves too, or not coral leaves, but coral reefs. I was just looking at the top because it reminds me of a leaf. So that one was created with metallic, all metallic. A lot of times I don't do that. A lot of times I combine more than one metallic in a line art, or I'll do a metallic with a white to give it a different definition, I guess you can say. But yeah, that one is a really, really beautiful piece to be seen in person. I was really happy with that one. That one, I try not to have favorites, but that one is up there.
Well, I love it. I really do. And I see a lot of flowers in it. When I first saw it, my mind went to Georgia O'Keeffe, because it's somewhat abstract, somewhat flowery. I'm not saying it looks like a Georgia O'Keeffe, but I definitely went there. And I just love the flow. I love the flow of the green in it. Then the two drops in the bottom that are pink. I just think that there's just something visually appealing about that. And I'm always attracted to stuff that is like its own thing. So like a lot of times you'll see a painting and it has a dab of red or a dab of blue. And I'm always attracted to the isolated piece that is not replicated through the whole thing, but it's its own element. And I feel that those two red ink blots or whatever really do that it gives me, for me, some interest in addition to the whole thing that's going on.
I'm glad you like it. That one is a really fun piece. And I don't want to say it's incomplete, but I will say that it's one of my pieces that has less line art in it than others. And I tend to record the process or take pictures of the process. And there's a lot of times that I think after when I finish the whole completed thing, and then I look back at those progress videos and progress photos, I'm like, oh yeah, I could have totally stopped there. So I always kind of wonder like when I could have stopped. And this is one that I don't know. It's so funny because I'm surprised I didn't keep going. Is I do remember when I looked at it after I dropped it off at the framing shop, I'm thinking, oh, whoa, like this is really kind of different from the other ones. And I could have done this or I could have done that. But when they're done, they're just done. Like, it's just like, oh, okay, no, there's nothing left to do. And it's like when you take two magnets and you flip them and there's like a repel, like they just will not go together. That's like how I feel energetically with my art when they're done. Like, it's like, no, just don't touch it because then I will mess it up or something. And that's how I felt with this one when I completed it. It was just done.
I love that. I love the analogy of the two magnets that they start to repel from each other, the polars. And I've never thought of it that way. I think that's a great way to think when something's done, is like you have this, at least for you have this internal thing that's like, nope, okay, I'm going to push this away. I think I'm done. Not going to do anything else. I love that analogy. I think that's great. And the thing I like about this too is, although when I look at this, there's a lot going on. Has movement to it, but yet when I look at it, it also is very calming. So I can imagine like just spending time with this, that it'd be a very calming moment. But yet there's still a lot going on, a lot of movement, not like it's busy in a negative way, but I love that kind of balance between, I feel movement and action and then at the same time, tranquility and calmness.
I get the same exact sense.
Yeah.
You described it very well.
Oh, thank you.
There's a flow and a dimension to it. And like Wes said, it's not too busy. It just kind of draws you in. And I feel this way with a lot of your pieces as far as the whole calming thing. Like when I look at it, any of these pieces, I just feel this sense of calmness that washes over me, you know? And you talked about coming home from having a stressful day and seeing a piece of art that would like put you at ease or kind of allow you to escape or wash away the day. That's what I feel like for sure, like your art does.
Oh, I'm so glad because I mean that's my intention. I don't know if that's what people feel, but that's my hope. And I do kind of wonder if the work does bring forth calming because my work there is a lot of movement in it, and it can be complex. And I'm glad that it does bring forth a calming energy, because I think that's just a nice embrace and a nice feel to be welcomed, I guess you could say. Some art just kind of slaps you, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that could be the intention of what the art is meant to do. And that's great. Mine is just kind of flowy, but I also sometimes wonder if it's a little bit too on the psychedelic train, you know, like, oh gosh, if you eat some shrooms right now, you're going to have a bad time.
I don't think you'd have a bad time. I think you'd be like just enamored and just want to sit there and look at it for hours on end.
Right.
I mean, there's so much going on. There's so much complexity, and the way that you use the color and the flow that it has with it and the shading. And actually, this is a phenomenal piece because even looking at it on the internet, if you pull it, first of all, go to Sarah's website, click on the portfolio and scroll down. You find this piece, Coral. You really do get a sense of that dimension, especially with this piece. And it is really complex. It's one of those things where if you sit with it for a little bit, you'll just see how just complex it is. Like there's a lot going on in this piece.
I think that is definitely my thing. There's a lot going on. And something that surprises people about the alcohol ink pieces is that they're not digital. A lot of people automatically assume that they're digital because they're vibrant, and some of them have like a 3D effect. And I often have to clarify on social media and other platforms that no, like these were, I made them. I know I had to wear protection while I made them. The fumes, they're not digital, but thank you, because digital art is hard. I used to dabble with digital art. That's a very difficult medium to work with. So for people to think that I made these digitally is a huge compliment, but no, they're not. I was there. I watched the inks flow and do what they do.
Stunning, stunning, stunning. I want to talk about another piece here while we're here on your webpage. And this is a piece that I really like. And it's pretty appropriate for the time of year that we're in. But this is Autumn.
Oh, isn't that one just fantastic?
It really is.
So that one is with the Golden High Flow acrylics. That is also one of the first pieces I tried with that. And oh, so I don't know if you saw that one in person, but that one is still there. And I am just bewildered that it's still there. It's captivating. The gold mixed in with the browns and the reds, and there's some purple.
I was just going to say that.
There's purple. Yeah. And it only popped through, like, I think towards the bottom a little bit, but it blended in when I put it all together. So that one was purely experimental with my color choices, and again, just kind of became what it became. So sometimes when the paint flows, it flows and it does the little, I don't know, the paint veins or whatever you call that. And then I kind of connect them to the other bits. So the bottom part there, I blew on to get the little, where it kind of feathered out there. Yeah. So sometimes I use breath work to get it all to connect, and sometimes it connects and sometimes it doesn't. So that's why that one looks like the way that it does.
I love the fact that you're exhaling air from inside of you to
Yes.
move the medium around.
Yes. And okay. So, a lot of my own inner challenge is to not control, because the essence of anxiety is we're trying to control shit that we can't control, right? And that causes us a lot of distress. And the only thing that we can't control is really ourselves. And part of obsessive compulsive disorder, especially mine, is the control, trying to control stuff that I can't control, or thinking the worst possible thing in the world is going to happen if I don't control this. So part of my reason for doing art the way that I do is letting go of control, letting it do whatever it's supposed to do, and just reiterating the fact that it's going to be so much more beautiful and so much more amazing and empowering and just phenomenal by doing it this way, versus if I try to paint it with a paintbrush, or if I try to get the paint to do this, or if I try to move it this way. Letting it do whatever it's supposed to do without my intruding or my trying to sway it in any way is just completely letting go of control. Same thing with the line art. I don't have any thought in any of that. None. I don't know what I'm going to do with the lines. I just know I have to do them. And just having full faith and confidence that however they land or wherever I put them, they will be beautiful. They just will. It's really a process for me.
This piece looks very heart-like, but you actually have another piece called Heart.
Yes, I do. Yes, somebody else told me that too. I see it now. This looks like a heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really astounding. I can't say enough about it. What size is this?
That one is, I think, 11 by 16. Framed, it's bigger because it's got the mat around it. But
well, it says it's 16 by 20 on your website.
I think it's 16 by 20 framed.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was one of my pieces that I thought was just like, if I were going to keep any pieces, I mean, that would probably be like one that I would consider. And I was really kind of surprised that that wasn't one of the ones that went with the others, like as fast as Coral did. But I also know that the color palette, my works that are more vibrant and bright, I would say like Rainbow Lake, those tend to go quicker. The ones that are richer like this, they don't go quite as quick, but a lot of times they go to men. And I think I sell my work about 50-50. So I think, about 50-50 to men and to women. And I think that's great that I've got collectors from all walks of life too, from all over that enjoy it. Yeah.
That's spectacular. So in the 2 years that you've been doing this, and really focusing on it, it seems like you've gotten a fair amount of traction. Have you been pretty proactive with trying to get your stuff out there? Do you contact galleries or have people seen your stuff and found it, say, on social media and have reached out to you? How has this worked?
Yes. So, I don't reach out very often. If it's like an open call, like when I got published in that magazine, like something like that, I do. But, or for the juried exhibition on the East Coast. Those things I definitely entered into, but a lot of the times it's them reaching out to me. Or if I reach out to them, it's because an artist or a gallerist or somebody in the industry that I've formed a connection with that I trust has done an introduction or has highly suggested my connecting with them. But a lot of the times it just kind of happens by pure happenstance. They see my work either in person, they see it on social media. It's really been quite an amazing unfolding to watch this all become what it's become, because I know a lot of people who've been at this for a very long time, and they ask me for insight, and I tell them, I don't have anything to tell you other than I'm very grateful, and I'm glad that people like my work. But I do get messages periodically from people that have seen my work, and then I have to ask them where they've seen it. And what's really interesting is a lot of times they say the same things, and none of these people know each other. So they say that it's an experience, that they could have stood in front of it for hours. Another artist had said something along the lines of like, it's like, I might be quoting it incorrectly, but something like, it's like standing in front of another world and like wanting to get lost in it, like just wanting to be in that world that I created. And then I get messages similarly to that, to what they see online. So it's really kind of cool to get that feedback. I don't think I've ever gotten anything negative from anybody, which has been really nice. I mean, I'm prepared for when I do, but for the most part, if somebody ever takes the time to reach out, it's because it spoke to them in some way.
How did that relationship with Kowen Gallery, how did that come about?
I had an exhibit actually a year ago right now, where my work was on exhibit here downtown in my community for the Week Without Violence initiative. So like taking a stand against gender-based violence. And I had lost the big purple piece and another piece entitled Cycle on exhibit downtown. And I posted that to my social media. I was interviewed by the news, and she saw it. She saw my loose canvases. And we connected that way. And she said, hey, would you want to be part of the exhibit for 2021? And I said, of course, like, yes. And at that point, I hadn't had any of my canvases stretched. I didn't know where to take them. None of my work was framed. All of my work was supposed to be exhibited here in my hometown. That gallery had closed because of COVID, and then eventually just kind of never reopened. So I had this large body of work and nowhere for it to go. And she created space for it to go. And then it's just really kind of blossomed since there. I think I've had my work exhibited since March or April. They've been with her. I want to say they've been exhibited online and in person at like 15 different locations since then. And I think I've sold like 20 different pieces. So it's like for every piece that I sell, it's like I'm creating to make up for that. And then I've gotten quite a few commissions in that time as well. both smaller works and larger works. So it's been a real natural unfolding. And then I've exhibited from Denver to Omaha to New York City. Just Baltimore area. And it's just kind of continues to unfold. Every day it seems to be just this beautiful journey unfolding, and people are seeing it. And I think they want to see more, maybe. I hope so, because I've got more to go.
Yeah, we want to see more. Speaking of that, do you have much of an inventory available, or are you selling as fast as you're creating? Sounds like you're creating as fast as you're selling, but do you have much of an inventory?
I do. Most of it's out. I think Krista Kowen Gallery has like 10, maybe 12 pieces. A few of those pieces are in Santa Fe and Denver.
And talk about where people can see that work.
At Artemesia Galerie on Santa Fe, which is the newer gallery. They actually have an exhibit opening today. You can see my work in Denver at Kowen Gallery. And actually, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks.
Let's talk about that.
Denver Arts Week. So I'm going to be doing a live art creating event there. You guys want to come and see what I do?
I would love to.
Of course.
It gets pretty wild. So I create art on loose canvas. And there's a couple reasons why I do that, because I will break the canvas. I'm a plus size woman. I'm like 200 plus pounds. So if I'm on a canvas, I will fall through it. A lot of times I'm stepping on the canvas, I'm leaning on it, I'm rolling on it, I'm like face to face with it, because some of my line art is so intricate, right? I've just learned that it's easier to get that close to it with it on the floor than it is to have it, like stretched. So I'm going to be taking some loose canvas to her gallery, and we're going to be doing an event as part of Denver Arts Week, and I'm going to be creating a piece live.
And when is that?
November 6th. It's a Saturday. And then I've got a piece that debuts actually today downtown so I'll go down for First Friday the night before on Santa Fe to see that exhibit and meet people. And then I'll have my event the next day at her gallery. So, yeah.
What time is your exhibit at Denver Art Week on the 6th?
I don't think she has officially set the time, but my guess would probably be like in the later afternoon.
Okay. What's a Sarah Larsen piece go for? What's the range?
Hundreds to thousands, I would say. I mean, it just kind of depends. Right now, my collection at Kowen is actually on sale. So that piece that she liked, Autumn, that piece is, I think, 30% off. So I think my work is probably, I try to use like the algorithms that you see online. So my little pieces are by the hour, and then my bigger pieces are like the length by width or
so
whatever.
Square footage, basically.
Yeah. Well, and some of those, I mean, they're just so big. But part of the reason why why I make the smaller pieces is because I want them to be accessible for anybody. I realize that not everybody can necessarily have one of my bigger pieces, but they can one of my littler pieces that can fit a lot more budgets than perhaps my bigger pieces. And I do feel my littler pieces, I give just as much love, just as much energy. I don't skimp or anything like that. Like I put just as much into my little pieces as I do my big pieces. It's just on a smaller level. And I want people to be able to have that too. So, and also not everybody has the wall space for,
Right.
for my big pieces too.
Right. And then commission work, pricing about the same.
Yes. Length times width times square inch for the bigger pieces. And then the littler pieces is per hour.
Okay. And then do you sell prints of your stuff or everything original?
Everything is original right now. I would love to do prints. The only issue that I've had with prints and why I haven't committed is my metallics.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a hard time finding any place that is able to print the metallics. So in order to do prints, I've run into the probability that I would have to go over each print with metallics. So I would have to go.
No, they do make metallic inks. So you could do metallics. I mean, there's definitely, it'd be a spot colors, where maybe you do a CMYK print and then overlay that with a fifth run of metallic inks that would match your metallics. However, I think we've talked to a couple, we've talked to people that are very successful with their prints. And then we've talked to people that, they found out prints wasn't their thing. Whether maybe you can't reproduce it as well up to your standard, and you create your brand where, I'm working with originals and then the size thing. So, but I could see your prints being very popular because they're, it kind of lends itself to that. I
would love to do prints, and I get a lot of people that are interested, especially in my smaller pieces. And even though they do appeal to more budgets, they're still, they're still in excess of $200. And for a lot of people, that's a lot of money. So I would like to be able to offer prints, maybe limited editions, because my end game here is to share love, and whether that's through a print, through an original, smaller work or larger work, it doesn't matter. It's the intention. And the more ways that I can do that, I'm happy to explore that. And I do think that these would translate really well into prints, especially with how vibrant they are. And I would love that. I've also heard that my work would look really good on textiles, on pillows, on rugs, on curtains, and everything. And I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Or clothing. I've heard that too. I wouldn't even know where to begin with any of that.
Yeah, dye sublimation, you could do some custom clothing with your designs with through dye sublimation, and it would be absolutely gorgeous. But once again, I think the only question you should consider to yourself, though, is this part of the way I want to be branded? And if it is, then just go for it. And there's a lot of places that you can get dye sublimated clothing through, and they do phenomenal work.
See, that's all news to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just by way of the universe, and whatever happens. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. And that's the way you should be. I mean, that'd be authentic to you, right? It's going to bring itself to you when it's ready. It's going to bring itself and say, this is the way to go. Right. That's the way I feel from you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm open. I mean, I'm open to anything. I do like the idea of prints, and it is something I've been teetering on for a while. It's just that metallic part, and I didn't know that until you told me that. So that's good to know. I think that would be really interesting to explore. I've had some places that want to sell prints, but then it would be like I would have to get them done, then ship them here, then ship them there, and that's kind of been like, oh, that's just a lot of work too. So it would be nice to have something that's like a sure thing. Like I know that those are going to turn out well, and then I could just order them and send. Yeah.
These commissions that you've been doing, it sounds like people are they just seeing your work in the galleries and they're reaching out to you, or they see it on social media? How has that been happening?
Yes, they see them in the galleries. They see them on social media, or they have purchased my work. They're collectors and they just love it. I had somebody reach out to me who has purchased a few, and then they said that they took their spouse downstairs and they were like, this whole wall is going to be Sarah Larsen commissioned. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is just like the nicest thing I think I've ever heard. Just really so honored to hear that people think highly enough of me to entrust in me to create something beautiful for them. And here's the thing. I know I said that when I create stuff, and it's just me, and then I create art that's for sale. I don't create art to sell. I create art that ends up being for sale. That process comes from a different place. When I create anything that's commissioned, I think about you. I think about you a lot. I think about you. I think about your family. I think about your home. If you have kids, I think about like this being that piece that will be there with you and your kids, and years and years and years down the road, like your kids are going to be fighting over who gets to take that piece home, right? I remember growing up at my grandparents' house, and my grandparents had this really terrible lit up piece above this fake fireplace. And then when it was time, to, I guess, remodel and sell, I remember walking in and just having like this void and this sadness that this horribly dark and dreary, phony, lit up, velvet looking brass, whatever, framed huge art piece was gone. But it was such a part of my childhood and memory of my grandparents that it was just there every time I walked in the door. Then the moment I walked in my grandparents' house and it was gone, that place was no longer familiar to me. So I think of those connections and those ties and what I'm creating and how it's really something that feels like home. So a lot of energy, a lot of love, a lot of thought, and a lot of passion goes into these commissions, because I know that it's something that's going to be there for you, for all of your ups, for all of your downs. It's going to be there to love you.
What's the best way for people to commission you to do a piece? Is it through your website, contacting you through your website?
Contacting me through my email, info@sarahlarsen.art would probably, that would be the best way. A lot of people contact me through like instant messenger, or I don't know what that's called, DM or something, like through. The only issue about that is sometimes I don't see them, especially if we don't follow each other or if I don't follow you back, because that goes into a different, it goes into a different inbox. Like it doesn't go into my primary inbox. So I might not see that for a while. And then, it might be taken personal, and it's not being taken personal at all. I got a request for a proposal for a hotel in New York City, and it went into one of those inboxes through a DM through a social media outlet, and I think it's out there for 2 weeks. And I had to apologize profusely, like, I'm so sorry, I had no idea, like it. But yes, I would love to give you a proposal for a piece, of course. But I'm so sorry. But yeah, I would say the best way would be to my business email would be the best, because I check that daily.
Most of your sales, I would imagine, come through these shows that you've had and the galleries that you're in.
I would say it's about 50-50. I would say it's 50-50 galleries and the other are the commissions. It's about half and half. Yeah.
Okay. And social media too, I imagine people reaching out to you via social media and purchasing things, or is that really happening? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I get reached out. I also get, from people that have that have seen it like at other people's houses, or I've seen somebody share that they bought this piece or that piece, and then they buy a piece or they commission a piece or something like that. So the invent of the internet, I think of myself, I've done like a complete, turnaround to like 18-year-old me, because this is what I wanted to do when I was 18. Right. And then I think of, what if I did try to do this when I was 18? I would have stereotypically failed completely. And I really think that, being located where I am and then having the accessibility that I do just by means of technology is why I'm able to do this now, because it just wouldn't have been possible to do it when I was 18 years old, even if I did pursue it. I haven't had any sales or anything from anybody here locally where I live. And quite a few people do see my work and do see me working on it as I do. And it's all 100% online or people seeing my work somewhere else.
Anything else you want to talk about or promote that might be happening in the next couple months before the end of 2021?
Oh my gosh, that is coming up, isn't it? The end of 2021. It just keeps dragging on, doesn't it? I think if you're in the Denver area, come see my stuff. And don't just come see it, but tell me that you have. Connect with me. I'll fill you with a ton of useless knowledge. I'm really good about that. Let me know that you exist, because otherwise I don't. I don't have any other events other than the one for Denver Arts Week. I might be back for the first week of December for First Friday. But other than that, I think that's all I've got for events. And then the postmortem show downtown on Santa Fe. But yeah, that's where I am.
Well, this has been an absolutely wonderful couple hours that we've spent together. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
I kept you a long time.
Wes is shaking his head because we've done some long interviews. So this is right in his wheelhouse. He'll enjoy editing this one. And like I said, I just so enjoy our conversation today. And I love your work and I love you. I can't wait to see you in person on the 6th of November at Kowen Gallery for Denver Arts Week. Thank you so very much. It's been an absolute honor and privilege to spend time with you.
Thank you. I should have prepared you that I cry a lot.
We like that. It shows humanity. We love it. I had one interview where they asked me to cut, and I was devastated because it was like, golden. It was just pure, raw and wonderful. But I won't say any names or anything. The one thing I do got to say, and Todd stole my line, but every time I talk to an artist, I feel like I've made a new friend. I definitely feel like I made a new friend with you. The line that Todd stole from me is, "I love you. I love your art." And can't wait. And November 6th, I'm going to look at my schedule and see if I can do a little detour and either hopefully catch you at the right time, or at least duck in and see your work. But I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you for being who you are. And I get the love and intent that you give in your artwork, and I appreciate it.
I'm so glad. I am such a damn sap. And I tell people, like, it either resonates with you, or if it doesn't, it's because somewhere along the line, somebody made you feel shame about love. I mean, they just did. And I get that on my social media where I get followers and I'm like, okay, if they're still with me for a week, they love. Because the stuff that I post, it's so funny because they'll follow me and then after a few days they unfollow and I'm like, they don't love, but that's okay. Someday they will, and I'll be here when they do.
That's awesome. And when I see you next, I'm going to give you a big old hug. I hope that's all right.
Yeah, I love hugs.
Oh, good. You're my kind of people.
For First Friday too. So I'm going to go downtown and see the exhibit. I've got one piece down there entitled Cycle. I think just one piece on display for that exhibit. So I'll be there that Friday for First Friday and then that Saturday for my thing, my event. So yeah, you can catch me.
Yeah. And I don't know if you haven't listened to our podcast, I live in Rapid City, South Dakota. So I'm like a neighbor just to the north.
I see. Oh, yeah. So you are literally like passing through.
Literally passing through.
Gosh, that's a long drive. Rapid City.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's 6 hours from Rapid to Denver. And then it's 20 some hours to Phoenix, but that's all right.
Oh, 2 days. You're going to Phoenix.
Yeah, Mesa.
Whoa, that's a long drive. But your grandbaby's worth it.
Yes, by all means. I love the journey. And so the whole talk about the journey thing, I'm like right with you. Life is a journey. It's not the destination. I could give a shit less about that. I want to experience the journey.
That's right. Because the destination is death.
Or whatever on the other side, which is neither here nor there, right? I'm here now. Let's experience the now. So
that's right. Live, and I preach that a lot, that we have to live in the here and now. That's where it is. And so much of life is stuck in trying to change what happened yesterday and worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. And it robs us of the here and now. And the here and now is what matters most, being present. So yeah.
Thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you.
To our listeners, check out Sarah's website at sarahlarsen.art, and you can find her on Instagram at Intuitive Art by Sarah, and then catch her in person at Kowen Gallery on November 6th, where she'll be doing a live event, and that's located at 11857 Bradburn Boulevard, Westminster, Colorado, 80031. I have all that information in this week's episode notes. And for the Tenant Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown. Have a great week.